Hello everyone, this is Krotic giving you a shoutcast in Game 3 in a best of 3 replay between Mouse Strelok and Elfi here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. So Mouse Strelok spawning as the green Terran player on the south side of the map. Meanwhile, we have Elfi spawning on the north side of the map as the blue Protoss. Protoss versus Terran. This is the Game 3 in a best of 3 series, so obviously it is now tied 1-1. Looking forward to seeing who will be winning in this best of 3 matchup. Couple of announcements out of the way. I will be away from home for the next week, so unfortunately I will not be able to make any new videos for a little bit of time. I still have a cache of over about almost 2,000 videos. You guys can go ahead and check out the older games that were from the beta time as well, see how the game has evolved, different strategies. Elfi now is setting up that gateway and going for a very early gateway. So that was a very early pylon followed by a very early gateway. He stopped his probe production and he is probably behind in terms of probe count, but he should be able to get a very early zealot out, and with that early zealot put a lot of pressure onto Mouse Strelok. So Strelok will see how he's going to respond. One early zealot in a base is always a problem, as now the probe doing some scouting as well. So there's a scouting probe now making its way down. Not quite, I guess the probe is just there to see if there's any harassment it can do, and he wants to kind of feint that he is not going out of the standard build. If you take a look at the army count now, 13/18 compared to 14/19, normally the Protoss player is ahead in food at this stage, but he's now currently behind. He will be getting a cybernetic score, so going for a cybernetic score before warping in a zealot. Yes, that is my daughter in the background, so she is just currently cooing and cawing if you guys can hear her. A probe now trying to get some damage onto this one barracks over here. This barracks taking some damage, or the SCV taking some damage, but not much at all, as two SCVs are now making their way out across the map. One to set up a supply depot, this other one to do some scouting. Back over here, you're going to see that there's going to be a very early stalker coming out once this gateway is done, or perhaps just trying to research that cybernetic score. A proxy pylon has been placed down by Elfi already, and now another pylon down over here. So I'm sure Strelok sees that there is this pylon down here, and now this probe is just wandering around trying to harass that one marine, and this pylon will complete. So I'm not 100% sure what's happening here, as most likely Strelok will scout out this one pylon down over here. The cybernetic score is now researching researching the warp gate research, so it should be completed in just a moment, and 2 additional gateways going down already. So more units will be trained up in just a moment. The probe now trying to come up here once again, trying to do some more scouting. However, he has to be careful. Is he going to set up another pylon on the backside? Yes, he's going to set up another pylon, making it look like he's just going to continue to try to proxy into the space. The probe now running away. The Marines may catch sight of that one pylon. No, do not catch sight of it, and now are going to be forced to try to take down this one pylon here. SCVs coming off the mineral line in order to take it down, make sure that it doesn't warp in any additional units. A Marauder is now already there. A Zealot now joining in on this fight, but there is still that proxy pylon to the north side of the base. The Zealot was able to take down the SCV that was trying to build it. Marauders and Marines now coming over to try to shoo it away. Will it work out? There is going to be perhaps a stalker. No, another probe now coming in. Warp gate research almost done. We're going to see 3 warp gates, and now Zealots warping in along the backside of that base. That is going to cause a lot of problems. A probe perhaps going to try to warp in down over here. Oh, it is going to get concussive shell, and now Zealots are now warping in. Strelok does not see it. The Zealots are now completing, and now the Zealots are in the base. So the Zealots are now in the base trying to get some damage, and now a Zealot coming in over here as well. So Zealots running into the SCV line over here. Zealots and Marauders, both sides doing a little bit of a push. Power Elfi could warp in some additional units as well. There's currently 1 Marauder there, as the Zealots are now just trying to fight back. SCVs coming off the mineral line. It looks as though Strelok is still ahead significantly in the SCV count, but he is forced to deal with this, as 1 or 2 Zealots are now just trying to run their way in. Another Zealot coming in as well. The front door is going to get taken down. It is now down, losing a supply depot as well. So both sides taking a lot of damage so far. This one probe going to try to walk up that ramp, not going to be successful. Another Zealot has been taken down, and we'll see if Power Elfi continues to warp in units. Yes, he is going to continue to warp in units. 3 Zealots now, however, with that stutter step on those Marauders, he should be able to stop many of those units. That last Zealot will get taken down. Perhaps some SCVs will get taken down as well against Strelok. Another probe trying to walk inside the base. The 1 Zealot going after some of those SCVs. Strelok now down to 10 SCVs though, so he has been hurt economically. We now see 14 probes for Power Elfi against the 10 or 11 SCVs and 1 mule. There is a much larger army coming in from Mouse Strelok, but Strelok is now going to try to counter a very, very standard tactic is that whenever your opponent tries to cheese you, if you're able to defend against it, go ahead and move out and try to put some pressure. But I believe all Elfi needs to do is just get 2 sentries, or a sentry and a zealot. More gas needs to be mined up. Yes, 3 on each of those assimilators, and I believe the warp gate will be able to warp in another sentry in just a moment. Just trying to get up to 100 gas and warping in and allowing him to be able to just block off that ramp for quite some time. 19 probes now coming in from Power Alpha as he's continuing to chrono boost it. Another sentry now being warped in here, waiting for that force field. Are we gonna get that force field? There it goes. So there is one force field stopping those Marines and Marauders from coming up that ramp. Another force field may come into play in just a second. Power Alpha needs to warp in perhaps 2 more sentries in order to consistently get down a lot of force fields and make sure that these units are not going to be able to come up that ramp. It doesn't look like, it is going to be 3 sentries and 2 zealots. We have 20 probes coming in from Elfi. Strelok now has 16 SCVs and 1 mule as well, but now Strelok also has a command center being built inside his base. Will most likely be able to upgrade it to an orbital command in just a moment, and get double mules catching up in this game economically, and also being able to train up some additional SCVs as well. 1 SCV now making its way around the map in order to do some scouting. We now have also Power Elfi setting up a nexus here. So 1 nexus being built at the natural expansion location. Both players now transitioning into the mid game. We also have an engineering bay coming in, so we may have mass Marines and siege tanks trying to move out engineering bay, perhaps for some detection or for some upgrades, as well as that SCV coming along this backside. Production wise, not much being trained out of Elfi's base, just another gateway currently being warped in. The SCV will scout out that there is a nexus currently being warped in as well. SCV gonna try to walk up that ramp, gonna quickly get taken down there, but it does reveal a large number of sentries. Elfi, if he tries to transition into 4-gate into a robotics bay, those sentries are going to help out significantly, as those sentries will be able to lay down a lot of force fields, protect those units, and then also protect their units with guardian shields, and also prevent and deny retreating. We also see some missile turrets coming into play as well, and making sure that there are going to be no Dark Templar, and now a siege tank getting ready to just fortify this location here. Probes now being transferred over. Unit-wise, 27 probes versus 26 drones. There are double mules in play, so the mules are still going to give an advantage to Mouse Strelok, as 2 more mules now being called down at the natural expansion. Mouse Strelok, as soon as those mules start returning those minerals, should have a large jump in economy and be able to take the economic advantage and the economic lead. Production-wise, Blue Flame Research now coming in. I like this play. Blue Flame Research, very, very strong, especially against a mass Zealot Sentry army that you're currently seeing. Guardian Shield only reduces the damage from 24 down to 22, so not nearly as effective as against Marines, as more sentries still coming in. So Power Elfi still getting a large number of sentries, and I'm curious as to what exactly he plans to do after that. At some point, he needs to transition away from sentries and zealots and into stalkers. Otherwise, his army will simply get eaten up by those Hellions. So now training up 2 Hellions at a time. He could also be training up some siege tanks, but he does have Hellions still being queued up off of that factory, and now going into an armory. So armory, obviously, perhaps for some that mech upgrades, or it could also be for Thors, but I cannot imagine Thors right now being added to this army. Unless they just want a very, very impressive ground army or a ground unit. Power Elfi now moving out does have a significant army advantage. It does not look like it by the mineral count, but significantly by that gas count. Sentries cost only 50 minerals, but 100 gas, so that is the reason why we see that discrepancy. We now have a lot of sentries coming in. Siege tanks now blasting away, getting some damage. Guardian Shield now coming up. No force fields. Wondering where those force fields are, and now Power Elfi just a little bit out of position there. Now going to be able to get some damage onto some of those Hellions and some of those Marauders as well. 1 siege tank in the back was able to soften up much of that, and a lot of those sentries are very low on hit points. You could see how much damage they were absorbing from those siege tanks blast and the flame attack of those blue flame Hellions. Hellions now moving out, perhaps to try to get some damage onto Elfi's or Elfi's mineral line, and 2 Hellions, 3 Hellions is all it's going to take to simply destroy multiple probes. So this is going to be a two-prong attack here. We're going to have Hellions now coming in, and now we're going to have some sentries, stalkers, and zealots pushing at the same time. Both sides dealing a lot of damage. Without those Hellions here, those sentries are going to be able to rack up that damage, but both sides getting in a lot of damage on each other. But it looks like stalkers are being warped in, and now this expansion down over here is in trouble. One siege tank on the high ground. SCV is trying to run away. Are they going to get a force field on the ramp to prevent any retreat? No, force field's trapping those units here. The Hellions are now inside the main base here, getting a lot of damage across multiple probes. So both sides taking a hard hit to their economy. The command center has been taken down, and my daughter is so excited about this game. You can hear her in the background just watching these zealots get toasted by that siege tank. Now Stalker's going to simply come up here and now trying to get a sight up onto that high ground. There is that one zealot, and Stalker is just shooting up onto that high ground, unable to see any further, and those blue flame Hellions softening up those units once again. Harvester count 19 probes compared to 26, 11 stalkers and 4 sentries. Those sentries, however, not able to do very much more. The armory is trying to research. It doesn't look like it will complete at all, but 4 Hellions, 4 fresh Hellions now running back in to try to get some more attacks, and then 2 stalkers on the ramp. Those Hellions only able to attack those units over here. Those Hellions, however, are not going to get enough probe kills for the cost of those Hellions there, and many of those Hellions are now in the red, now in full retreat. Command center being rebuilt by Strelok, siege tanks being repaired by these SCVs, and we are getting even more factories in place, so we're going to see even more siege tanks and more Hellions coming out of here. Income wise, 1,000 for Mouse Strelok, Elfi sitting at 600, and also we see Strelok with a significant gas advantage as well. Sentry is now returning home, 1 sentry down to 1 hit point, 40 shields, so that sentry is still lucky to be alive, as the Stalkers of Elfi currently control both Xel'Naga watchtowers. Stalkers also trying to make sure that there are no additional expansions being placed down by Strelok. That's always important. Whenever you feel like you're even with your opponent, you have to make sure to scout out your opponent and know that you are not behind in expansions. Production-wise, probes are being trained, and now Stalker Blink is being researched. That is going to be a significant advantage for those Stalkers to zero in on that, on those siege tanks. Those siege tanks inside their 0 blast radius cannot fight and cannot deal damage towards those stalkers. They need to come out of siege mode, but there's not that many stalkers anymore. Only 11 stalkers compared to 7 siege tanks, and now 7 Hellions. Army wise, we see both sides pretty even in terms of mineral and gas count, but we see the SCVs joining in on that fight as well. 1 stalker going to get quickly taken down and just getting blue flame to death. It doesn't take any additional damage, but 6-7 stalkers is enough to take down, or 6 Hellions enough to take down 1 stalker, and now the stalker's coming back in trying to get more damage. One of those stalkers now trying to pull away. Stalker Blink will be finished just in time, and that is going to be very critical as those sentries now trying to move in. Other stalkers, yeah, blinking in, taking out one of those siege tanks already. Another siege tank already down, and now focusing on now more of those units. Hellions unable to continue to push, and now 1 Hellion has been trapped on the wrong side, but another stalker was taken down by that siege tank there. They have to be very, very careful. Those stalkers, those 11 stalkers are going to be absolutely critical in trying to fight back against these units, and now stalkers trying to get some damage. Oh, able to blink away. Siege tanks blasting away once again. Army wise, 1850 versus 1950, but a significant gas advantage now for Strelok. Strelok with so many siege tanks trying to knock on this front door, and it looks like it will be successful, but there is now 1 observer in the air, but there is also a missile turret. That missile turret going to shut it down. Down it goes. Zealots do not have zealot charge. Stalkers were trying to blink in, unable to get that close, and now trying to get more damage across those siege tanks, with the siege tanks of behind here now finally blinking within that 0 distance, going to be able to finish off the rest of these siege tanks here. And now Hellions going after the probes once again, getting more economic damage in. SCVs are also repairing, and there's simply so many Hellions that those Hellions are going to be able to perhaps finish off the rest of those units here. Zealots now trying to give chase. Hellions going to run straight into the mineral line at the main base. Blue flame Hellions dealing so much damage, not even caring that there are stalkers in that mineral line, just shooting at those probes. And now that we're down to 10 probes compared to 38, I believe that Mouse Strelok should be able to continue and ride out the rest of this wave, continue to macro up, keep up with this production, and take this game. We'll see what's going to be happening now as the stalkers are trying to do a counter push. There is 1 siege tank, 2 siege tanks, 4 siege tanks. That is enough to hold off the army of stalkers that are trying to currently come in. Even if they try to get in with and blink within that 0 radius, all it takes is 1 or 2 siege tanks out of siege mode to finish off many of those stalkers. So the stalkers are now just in full retreat. This one barracks will get taken down. Mouse Strelok doesn't even seem to care about it. He's not lifting it off, not going to save it. It will get destroyed, but now the stalkers are going to try to push in once again. The stalkers, however, being forced to blink away once more. And those stalkers now in full retreat. Income-wise, 300 minerals a minute compared to 1800 for Strelok. So Strelok with a significant advantage now, mining with 3 mules. He should be able to take another expansion in just a moment. Yes, getting another command center here. Some of these siege tanks will start blasting at these rocks in just a moment. These mineral patches are now nearly destroyed. Level 1 weapons upgrade has not been restarted yet, but the sheer army size does seem to be enough. We did see, however, a Dark Shrine now coming in. So this is more of a desperate attempt by Elfi to stay within this game, hoping that by using a Dark Shrine and using Dark Templars, he can soften Strelok's army. But with 2 orbital commands and also a very, very smart missile placement, missile turret placement by Mouse Strelok, I believe Mouse Strelok doesn't have too much to worry about. Hellions now simply destroying that last pylon there. And 12 Hellions able to one-shot most light units as these stalkers are now on its way out. Hellions now going to move out over here. There are some stalkers now trying to chase in after those units, and now siege tanks coming in. And oh, a nice blink, preventing many of those stalkers from taking too much damage. But those Hellions deal so much damage and also are splashing across multiple units there that those stalkers, oh, blinking up to that high ground. Siege tanks out of siege mode, gonna quickly clean up the rest of this base. There are some Dark Templars. Dark Templars are now starting to slice away at this army. Is Strelok gonna see it? Yes, he does scanner sweep, cleaning up the rest of those Dark Templars with those siege tanks. And now Strelok, or sorry, Elfi says GG, and Strelok gets the win. So Strelok winning game 3 in this best of 3 series. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Game 1 and Game 2, very, very close. Game 3, Game 2 could have gone either way. Game 3 was a constant back and forth push, but I believe Mouse Strelok, using his game sense, knew that those Hellions were not going to deal any serious damage and was not a major threat towards those stalkers inside the base. Decided to sacrifice them for those probes, and by sacrificing them against the probes, against the mineral lines, Elfi was never able to keep up with Strelok economically, being down 1200 minerals a minute, and that was ultimately all it took for the win. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Elfi and Strelok here in the Xel'Naga Caverns.